All right, we are live again, like we are every morning, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. This is very important for our spiritual well-being. Let me just shut this off here. We're going to hear all kinds of weird stuff. All right. Okay. Very important for our spiritual well-being. The sages just put all their glorifications to Sutta Goswami and why that he is the most qualified person to give Bhagavatam to them. He's also going to be the qualified person giving Bhagavatam to us. So this is the 1,000-year sacrifice that is commencing, and it's going to commence with the most auspicious thing, the message of the Bhagavat, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. So, here we go. We will begin with our prayers glorifying the Bhagavatam. So I will give it to Parth. I'll share the screen. And take it from here, Parth. So all together, if you know. From the chapter of the Bhagavatam that we're going to get into. We might even get to this verse today. It's only the 4th verse in this chapter, this next chapter we're getting in. But it explains the mood we should have before hearing Bhagavatam, which is what's going to be given to us in the chapter. Ready? Rainam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye.
Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
You just give it a twist and a good, decent flow. Thank you, Piyush.
Shinvatam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantasto Hiyabadrani Viduno Kisurinsasa. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead who is Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
And finally,
Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, or by regular hearing of the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. So now, before we begin, we'll do one more thing. We'll chant the prayers, glorifying the Gurus and the lineage of Gurus, leading back to incarnations of the Lord and the ultimate Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna himself. So we will chant these lovely prayers.
Om Nam Timirandasya Nananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Viritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swam Nadantikam Adeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Lalina Tanvitam Tam Sajiva Sadvaitam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamatamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine.
All right, so I'll put that back now. We are going to begin. Okay, so we're going to continue with the Bhagavatam, which is an 18,000 verse poem, actually. This is one of the wonderful things about this system is that it's giving us knowledge, but also it's poetry, it's song. There's one actual, actually he's a guru within the ISKCON movement. Actually, he started the Krishna House projects, which inspired this Mantra Central project. His name is Kalakanta Prabhu, and he had a version of the Bhagavad Gita, and Gita means song, and Bhagavad means God, and Bhagavad Gita means song of God, but actually he named it the rap of God, actually. This is, we have our friend Nick here. Nick is actually a practicing in the art of rap. So, but actually the reason he named it the rap of God, because actually a rap, what is rap? It's kind of lyrical poetry, and it works well pretty much only in the English language. Maybe some other languages have figured it out, but it works well primarily with the English language. But in the Sanskrit language, the shlokas are what work well. So we're gonna actually hear some of the ancient, and so he composed in English rap of Bhagavad Gita. He used the translations and meanings, and I read through it actually, and it was really quite nice. So actually, if you look up Nick Bhagavad Gita, the rap of God, you'll actually you'll enjoy the read sometime. And actually, it has to do with this philosophy. It's pretty cool. So anyhow, let's sing the message of God. So we're on the Bhagavatam, first verse of the last verse of the first chapter of the first canto. So repeat after me. Bruhi Yogeshware Krishne.
Bruhi Yogeshware Krishne.
Brahmanye Dharma Varmani.
Brahmane Dharma Varmani.
Svam Kashtam Adunopete. Svam Kashtam Adunopete. Dharma Kam Sharanam Gataha. Repeat after me. Bruhi. Please tell. Yoga Ishware. The Lord of all mystic powers. Krishna. Lord Krishna. Brahmanye. The absolute truth. Dharma, religion. Varmani, protector. Svam, own. Kashtam, abode. Aduna, nowadays. Upete, having gone away. Dharma, religion. Come, unto whom? Sharanam, shelter. Gataha, gone. Translation. Since Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. So that's the conclusion of the chapter. And Prabhupada says, as purport, essentially religion is the prescribed codes enunciated by the personality of Godhead himself. Whenever there is gross misuse or neglect of the principles of religion, the Supreme Lord appears himself to restore religious principles. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.8. Here, that's not yada, it's, what is it? Paritranaya. No, it is yada hi dharmasya, right? Glanir bhavati bharata. That's the famous verse in Bhagavad Gita 4.8. To reestablish religion and annihilate the miscreants. So, this is, well, actually, I think, you know what? I can click on the link right here. We'll share it. It's Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkritam Dharma Samstapanarthaya Sambhavamai Yuge Yuge. In order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. So, this is why Krishna says he comes. And so now that Krishna has left the planet, this is what just happened. Krishna has left and they all witnessed. And many of these sages, now they're asking, tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. Because Krishna was clearly the one carrying the religious principles when he orchestrated the whole war of the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita. But now he's left, so now the sages are like, what do we do? So here the sages of Naimisharanya are inquiring about these principles. The reply to this question is given later. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental sound representation of the personality of Godhead, and thus it is the full representation of transcendental knowledge and religious principles. So this answer to this question will be given, but the answer is going to be revealed, and it's going to be ultimately this Srimad Bhagavatam through Shukadev Goswami to Sutta Goswami, and now he'll give it to them. So are you guys ready into the next chapter? And the response, finally, we'll hear from Sutta Goswami. Vyasavacha iti samprashna samhrishto vipranam roma harshanihi prati puja vachastesham pravaktum upachakrame Vyasavacha. Vyasa said, iti, thus, samprashna, perfect inquiries or questions. Samhrishtaha, perfectly satisfied. Vipranam, of the sages there. Romaharshani, the son of Romaharshana, namely Ugra Shrava, who's going to be that's Sutta Goswami. Pratipuja, after thanking them. Vachaha, words. Tesham, there. Pravaktum, to reply to them. Upachakrame, attempted. Ugra Shrava, Sutta Goswami, the son of Romaharshan, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them, and thus attempted to reply. The sages of Naimisharanya, purport by Prabhupada, the sages of Naimisharanya asked Sutta Goswami 6 questions, and so he is answering them one by one. So here we go. This is how we actually get spiritual knowledge. You ask questions to someone more qualified than yourself, and you get proper answers. So this is actually what they did. They asked questions before Sutta Goswami, and now he's pleased. Actually, great spiritual personalities, when you make inquiries, they'll actually be pleased, and then they'll give you the answer. We can't just come and try and challenge people with more knowledge than us or things like that. They won't naturally be pleased, and they really won't want to share much knowledge with you because you don't have the right spirit of mind to take in the knowledge. So the proper spirit of mind is to actually be genuinely sincere. What is best for my spiritual well-being? What can we do for the benefit of others? Things like this. Being sincere and submissive. So this is how we have to approach this knowledge. We can't approach this knowledge thinking, oh, I already know so much, or I know so many things. We have to be very submissive and humble and realize, we don't really know very much. So let's hear from those who have actually found a real source of happiness that's much greater than what I know. So, would you agree? Are you ready to take into that journey? Yes. Okay, I'm getting the nod, the confirmation. So let's go. Sutuvacha Yam Prabrajantam I think it's Yam Prabrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam
Yam Pravajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam
Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Binedus Tam Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi. Isn't this cool? This the reason they composed philosophical literature like this. It wasn't even literature. Literature wasn't, at this point in history, literature wasn't prominent. Actually, what was prominent was this, composing songs. So, the Bhagavatam is one giant song. It's 18,000 verses. And all these shlokas they have such nice meter, you can sing them, things like that. Nick?
What page?
That's a good question. They have.
82.
Yes. So repeat after me. Sutaha Sutta Goswami Uvacha said Yam Hum Pravrajantam while going away for the renounced order of life Anupetam without being reformed by the sacred thread Apeta not undergoing ceremonies Krityam prescribed duties Dvaipayanaha Vyasadev Viraha separation Kataraha being afraid of Ajuhava exclaimed Putrayiti O my son Tatmayataya being absorbed in that way Taravaha all the trees Abhinedu responded Tam unto him Sarva all Bhuta living entities Hridayam heart Munim sage Anata asmi offer obeisances. Translation. Srila Sutta Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, referring to Shukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread, or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, O my son, indeed only the trees, which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation, echoed in response to the bereaved father. So he's offering obeisances unto Shukadev Goswami, who actually, we mentioned this in an earlier class, when his father wanted to teach him the Bhagavatam, but Sutta Goswami wanted nothing to do with family life. Why? Because family life actually binds us in this material world. He knew this. When we're attached to mother, father, brothers, sisters, wife, children, and such, these desires form to enjoy the material world with them, which is ultimately our greatest illusion. And by the end of life, that's where our consciousness lies, completely immersed in such things. And then when death takes us, the consciousness will again desire to go into this material world. And it will go into this material world. Only when the desires are purely spiritual at the end of life can one enter the spiritual abode. So this is going to teach us how to do that. I mean, it might take me many hundreds of lifetimes left, but we're trying. It's a humble attempt towards this spiritual process. So, Prabhupada is saying, so that's why he left his father right away. And his father actually had his best interest. He wanted to teach him how to completely go beyond liberation, which he already actually achieved. But Shukadeva Goswami, he knew his principles and he was running away. But there's some nice pastimes that'll come. Purport. The institution of Varna and Ashram prescribes many regulative duties to be observed by its followers. Varna means one's occupation, like what you do in life, what's your job, your career, or your role in society. And ashram means the phase of life that you're in. Are you in the early studenthood life? Are you in householder, marriage, family life? Are you in retired life, trying to prepare oneself spiritually for death? And then the renounced order of life is what Shukadev did, is completely giving up everything. Giving up all, not everything, completely giving up all worldly attachments. So, there's a way to do that in the Vedic understanding. So the institution of Varna and Ashram prescribes many regulative duties to be observed by its followers. Such duties enjoin. What's enjoin mean again, Parth? I think it's like invite or something. That a candidate willing to study the Vedas must approach a bona fide spiritual master and request acceptance as his disciple. So that's step one. The sacred thread is the sign of those who are competent to study the Vedas from the Acharya, or the bona fide spiritual master. Sri Shukadeva Goswami did not undergo such purificatory ceremonies because he was a liberated soul from his very birth. So because he had such special qualification, he didn't find it necessary. And even though his father was the most qualified, he left and he ran away as soon as he could. Generally, a man is born as an ordinary living being, an ordinary being like ourselves. And by the purificatory processes, he is born for the second time. Like when you take initiation, that's actually considered to be your birth, your real spiritual birth. Before that, right now, we're kind of in the spiritual womb. And we're just maybe wondering, am I going to do something like this with my life, blah, blah, blah. You may be thinking like this, but actually initiation is when one's real life begins. I felt this very strongly in my life. It wasn't until I took initiation and I actually surrendered to this process that I feel like actually my real life has actually begun. Before that, I don't even know what the hell I was doing. I was just like, just trying to enjoy this body and its pleasures, and yeah, really, it was empty. But now I feel like there's a real birth, there's a real purpose for my existence. And it's not like exclusive, oh wow, I'm so special. Actually, I'm not. This is available for anyone. And even myself being born completely unqualified, meeting devotees, but by submissive hearing of devotees and applying some of the practices and understanding some of the duties, purification does take place and anyone becomes qualified. So yeah, this is available to everybody actually. And Prabhupada has made this available to everyone, even the people in the Western world, like my wife and myself and so many devotees. So anyway, he says he is born for the second time after the purificatory processes. When he sees a new light and seeks direction for spiritual progress, he approaches a spiritual master for instruction in the Vedas. The spiritual master accepts only the sincere inquirer as his disciple and gives him the sacred thread. This is the process. You have to see a new light and seek direction and approach a spiritual master for instruction. That's the method. And the sages have actually done that here to Sutta Goswami. And he's glorifying his spiritual master. That's what a real spiritual master does. He first glorifies his spiritual master. So, that's why we chanted those mantras in the beginning, to glorify the spiritual masters. So, the spiritual master accepts only the sincere inquirer as his disciple and gives him the sacred thread. It's this thing. Not so important, but it's a symbol of your accepting a spiritual master. In this way, a man becomes twice born, or a Dvija. After qualifying as a Dvija, one may study the Vedas. You have to be twice born to formally study the Vedas. And after becoming well versed in the Vedas, one becomes a Vipra. A Vipra, or a qualified Brahmana, thus realizes the Absolute and makes further progress in spiritual life until he reaches the Vaishnava stage. The Vaishnava stage is the postgraduate status of a Brahmana. A progressive Brahmana must necessarily become a Vaishnava, for a Vaishnava is a self-realized, learned Brahmana. Srila Shukadeva Goswami was a Vaishnava from the beginning. Therefore, there was no need for him to undergo all the processes of the Varnashram institution. Ultimately, the aim of Varnashram Dharma is to turn a crude man into a pure devotee of the Lord, or a Vaishnava. Anyone, therefore, who becomes a Vaishnava, accepted by the first-class Vaishnava, or Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava, is already considered a Brahmana, regardless of his birth or past deeds. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this principle and recognized Srila Haridas Thakur as the Acharya of the holy name, although Thakur Haridas appeared in a Mohammedan family. In conclusion, Srila Shukadeva Goswami was born a Vaishnava, and therefore Brahmanism was included in him. He did not have to undergo any ceremonies. Any low-born person, be he a Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abira, Shumba, Yavana, or Kasa, these are different groups of ancient types of people who were maybe forest dwellers and different types of people who usually wouldn't take to these type of things. Or even lower, can be delivered to the highest transcendental position by the mercy of the Vaishnavas. It's saying anyone can be in the highest position. It doesn't matter your race, your creed, or anything like that. It just, how sincere are you? And really, does a Vaishnava have mercy on you? That's the thing we have to hope for. Srila Shukadeva Goswami was the spiritual master of Sri Sutta Goswami, who therefore offers his respectful obeisances unto Srila Shukadeva Goswami before he begins his answers to the questions of the sages at Naimisharanya. So he's glorifying his spiritual master, and even mentioning the qualification of his spiritual master, not needing, he was born liberated, didn't even need the sacred thread. And his father, who was like the most qualified, he literally composed the Vedas, or compiled them into 4 sections. He was like lamenting, "No, oh my son," chasing after him. So like this. We'll go on to the next verse. Yasvanu bhava makila shruti sadamekam Adyatmadipam atitir shatam tamun Adyatmadipam atiti tirshatam tamundham Samsarinam karunayaha purana guhyam Tam vyasa sunum upayami gurum muninam Yaha Hihu Sva Anubhavam self-assimilated or experienced Akila all around Shruti the Vedas Sadam cream Ekam the only one Adhyatma transcendental Deepam torchlight Atitir Shatam desiring to overcome Tama Andam deeply dark material existence Samsarinam of the materialistic men Karunaya out of causeless mercy Aha said Purana supplement to the Vedas Guhyam very confidential Tam unto him Vyasasunu the son of Vyasadeva Upayami let me offer my obeisances Guru the spiritual master Muninam of the great sages. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadeva, who out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge, after having personally assimilated it by experience. So I'll read it one more time because my wife was running a blender. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, the spiritual master of all sages. That's Shuka, the son of Vyasadeva, who out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge, after having personally assimilated it by experience. So he spoke this Bhagavatam, which is the cream of Vedic knowledge. That's the name of the YouTube series that we're recording this on. Parth, is that catching me, or is my head cut off?
No.
I'm in there?
Yeah. Yep.
That camera's impressive. Looks like it's tilted down. Yeah, it's okay. If I'm in there, I'm in there. So anyway, he personally assimilated it by experience. And he also, he did end up hearing the Bhagavatam from Vyas, who was chasing after him over time. But why did he speak it? This is actually, this is a great, actually my wife was having a conversation with one of her mentors. Her name is Mother Nidra. And she was asking how, she was asking a question on my behalf because somebody who was part of our class, she was a little taken aback by some of the language I used in the class. But it wasn't like bad language or anything, but she, the paradigm that she understood, it kind of rattled her paradigm a little bit. And I was just speaking what I've been taught through this Vedic understanding. But it was really hard for her to accept that, so to say. So my wife was asking a question on my behalf, what do you do when that happens? And actually she got a really interesting answer, and she relayed the answer to me, and I thought was really interesting, is that the speaker of the class, the main concern should be what is spoken right here. To be in great compassion for those, this says gross materialists, or those who are focusing only on bodily sense pleasure. That's eating, sleeping nicely, their mating experience, how their sex life is going to go on, and intoxication, and so on. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, finding different arrangements. How I'm going to get a nice house, I'll get a nice wife, I'll get this, I'll get that. But ultimately it's understood for those who are fully immersed in trying to get worldly delights, they're actually in this what's kind of a deeply dark material existence. And they actually will never be able to squeeze any real pleasure out of these things. And they'll always find a disappointment as death approaches. That's just the unfortunate circumstance. So out of great compassion, when we give class and when we actually share this knowledge, we should have great compassion for those who are stuck in that line of thinking. And we have to recognize I was in that line of thinking. I'm probably still in that line of thinking. I want to squeeze out pleasure here and there, And especially when you get married, that tendency is always there. Between you and your wife, there's always that tendency where you both can easily fall into materialistic thinking and seeking pleasure in materialistic ways. It's very, very, very easy for that to happen. But ultimately, when you are trying to live by higher principles and you're gifted higher knowledge, you join the struggle to cross over these darkest regions of material existence. Knowing them, they'll never give you real pleasure. At the end of it, you're always longing for more. You're never feeling like, okay, that ice cream was so good, I'll be satisfied for 15 years. Or that sex was so good that I'll be satisfied for, even 1 week. It'll again, you'll be like, well, we need to do more, we need to do it, and you're always craving more, and you're jonesing, you're longing for more. Fiending, kind of like the addict's mentality. But that's unfortunately what's happening. So he spoke this confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated by experience. He did it out of compassion, because by speaking this will disentangle this line of thinking that's holding us back and actually never allowing us real pleasure. If we want real pleasure, there's a science to it. And you have to go to the source of pleasure. Like we mentioned the analogy of the plant on Sunday. If you're a little leaf on a plant and you disconnect yourself from the source, which is God, then you'll wither and die. That's what a leaf does. It disconnects itself from the source of its very existence. So when we disconnect ourselves from the Supreme, then also we wither and die, and that's the process of old age, disease, and death. That's coming for everybody. We've watched it with our grandparents. We're watching it happen with our parents as we get older. And then it comes for us, and then our children will watch it with us, and then it'll happen to them, and so on. Death is coming for everybody. So we must get out of this materialistic form of pleasure, knowing that death will destroy all of it. We have to find a different source of pleasure. This is very important. So Shukadeva Goswami, out of compassion, is giving this. He gave it to the great sages, especially Sutta, who's going to give it to the other great sages, who are going to give it to us. So we should take it. Prabhupada is saying, this is a good purport, and we'll probably end here. In this prayer, Srila Sutta Goswami practically summarizes the complete introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural supplementary commentary on the Vedanta Sutras, which were older Vedic works. And it made it a very nice commentary that makes it easily understandable for all. The Vedanta Sutras, or the Brahma Sutras, were compiled by Vyasadeva with a view to presenting just the cream of Vedic knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on this cream. Srila Shukadeva Goswami was a thoroughly realized master on the Vedanta Sutra, and consequently he also personally realized the commentary, Srimad Bhagavatam. And just to show his boundless mercy upon bewildered materialistic men who want to cross completely over nescience, he recited for the first time this confidential knowledge. Just to show his boundless mercy upon bewildered materialistic men who do want to cross over completely over nescience. That's one of our qualifications. Do we want to cross over ignorance? Do we want to be situated in knowledge over ignorance? Do we want to be situated in light, in illumination over darkness? That has to be our qualification. So he recited for the first time this confidential knowledge. There is no point in arguing that a materialist... this Prabhupada is getting into what I was just trying to get into. There is no point in arguing that a materialistic man can be happy. No materialistic creature, be he the great Brahma or an insignificant ant, can be happy. Everyone tries to make a permanent plan for happiness, but everyone is baffled by the laws of material nature. Therefore, the materialistic world is called the darkest region of God's creation. Yet the unhappy materialists can get out of it simply by desiring to get out. Unfortunately, they are so foolish that they do not want to escape. Therefore, they are compared to the camel, who relishes thorny twigs, because he likes the taste of the twigs mixed with blood. He does not realize that it is his own blood, and that his tongue is being cut by the thorns. That's us. We want to chew on thorns and taste the blood. That's us trying to squeeze out the pleasures of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending in this world. He does not realize that his own blood, and that is his tongue being cut by the thorns. Similar to the materialists, his own blood is as sweet as honey. And although he is always harassed by his own material creations, he does not wish to escape. Such materialists are called karmis. Out of hundreds of thousands of karmis, only a few may feel tired of material engagement and desire to get out of the labyrinth. Such intelligent persons are called jnanis, the ones who have knowledge. The Vedanta Sutra is directed to such jnanis. But Srila Vyasadeva, being the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, could foresee the misuse of the Vedanta Sutra by immoral or unscrupulous men. And therefore, he personally supplemented the Vedanta Sutra with the Bhagavat Purana. That's what we're reading. It is clearly said that this Bhagavatam is the original commentary on the Brahma Sutras. Srila Vyasadeva also instructed the Bhagavatam for his own son, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who was already at the liberated stage of transcendence. Srila Shukadeva realized it personally and then explained it. By the mercy of Srila Shukadeva, the Bhagavad Vedanta Sutra is available for all those sincere souls who want to get out of material existence. So that's kind of what this is here. If you want to get out of the labyrinth that material existence is putting you through, causing us so many miseries and kicking us in so many different directions, this Bhagavatam is for you. Srimad Bhagavatam is the one unrivaled commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Sripad Shankaracharya intentionally did not touch it because he knew that the natural commentary would be difficult for him to surpass. He wrote this Shariraka Bhashya, and his so-called followers deprecated the Bhagavatam as some new presentation. They deprecated means what? One should not be misled by such propaganda directed against the Bhagavatam by the Mayavad school. From this introductory shloka, the beginning, what is deprecated?
Express disapproval.
Disapproved, okay. From this introductory shloka, the beginning student should know that Srimad Bhagavatam is the only transcendental literature meant for those who are Paramahamsas. And can be, Paramahamsa is like it means supreme swan in like Sanskrit, but it's a person who's completely freed from the material disease called malice. They have no evil intention towards anybody. They have no envy, jealousy towards anybody. This is actually a goal. The Mayavadis are envious of the personality of Godhead, despite Sripad Shankaracharya's admission that Narayan, the personality of Godhead, is above the material creation. The envious Mayavadi cannot have access to the Bhagavatam, but those who are really anxious to get out of this material existence may take shelter of this Bhagavatam, because it is uttered by the liberated Srila Shukadeva Goswami. So just so you know, a Mayavadi means one who thinks they are God. So one who thinks that I'm God, you're God, we're all God, and we should all just wake up to our Godhead. For them, they really can't appreciate Bhagavatam. It's not meant for them, actually. It is the transcendental torchlight by which one can see perfectly the transcendental absolute truth, realized as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So this is going to illuminate how we can understand the absolute truth in his different forms, as the underlying essential energy within all things, as the source of consciousness within our own consciousness, within ourselves, and ultimately as the Supreme Personality who will come down and personally associate with those very dear and reestablish religion all across many universes. So, I don't know if you notice, this next verse is one that we chant every morning, and we'll begin with that tomorrow. But we're going to end here today. Thank you guys for joining, both on YouTube and Facebook. Nick, Piyush, Parth, thank you guys, and Sita in the kitchen, thank you guys for joining this morning. By regular study of this every day, we will be thoroughly purified and, really be able to make higher quality choices in our life that's going to be for our benefit, as opposed to kind of sabotage our life, which is kind of the tendency of the conditioned souls in the material world. We've been sabotaging our ability to enjoy happiness for many, many lifetimes now. But now here's the way out. So as long as we desire it and try to keep re-entering into this knowledge, we will be successful. So thank you guys so much. Hare Krishna. And we'll end here.